Hi, nice to meet everyone, and thanks for the invitation to speak in this conference. My name is Laurent Thevenet. I'm the head of creative tech for Publicis Group in Asia, Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. I used to be at RGA for quite some time, at BBDO as well. I'm an engineer by training, and I used to also work in startup, my startup, both in France and now in Singapore, where I am based. So I'm not your typical engineer. I would be sitting across creativity and technology. So I'm an engineer by education, but I have grown up in this creative industry over the last 15 years. And I play in fields like generative design, creative use of artificial intelligence. And I'm also particularly interested in building a modern and futuristic creative team. So I have worked with clients like Google, Nike, Netflix, YouTube, and others across a variety of markets in Asia Pacific. So this is some of my work, not everything, but it's just to show you the spectrum of skills me and my team have. And so we have this ability to work both on product design as well as on campaign. And today we are going to talk about a topic that I believe is rising in interest at the moment, especially among creative, which is the collaboration in between us, humans, and machines. So in terms of what we are going to go through, first, I'm going to show you what it means to be a creative in our current eras, in the 2020s. Then we will go into the creative disruption, the different algorithm and technology that are altering the way we work as creatives. And then finally, we will look at what it takes to actually stay relevant. So what does it mean to be a creative in our current era? There is a lot of creative industry out there. You could be working in agencies, creative agency, advertising agency. You could be a designer that create products. You could be working in film, in music, be building video games, etc. Be an architect. So there's a variety of industry. We are going to focus specifically on advertising and marketing, as well as graphic design, product design, and brand design. There is a debate right now, which is especially in the advertising industry or in a group like mine, Publicis Group, which is, should we focus on advertising? Should we look at product design? Is it one versus the other? Should advertisers stop creating advertising and start creating products? So I believe this debate is not important. It doesn't really matter. What we need to be doing as an industry, no matter the agency we are working for, we need to be versatile. So it's all about our client needs, right? Our clients could be an actual tech company, right? A company that is currently changing the market, let's say a financial startup. They actually have the technology, right? They have the product that is disrupting other players. What they lack is advertising. We have seen it, even if it's currently crashing with the crypto startup, hiring quite a fair bit of ex-agency staff. If what they need to do is to promote their product, to advertise their product. And then we have the opposite side of the spectrum. Let's say you work with a large legacy bank. That bank is struggling because new startups are coming to market. Advertising doesn't specifically help that bank, right? So if we are putting out there a message that this is the best bank, you need to join that bank, it may not help because their products are deficient in regards to the startups that are coming and taking a share of the market. So what we need to do with this legacy organization is usually to instead try to fix their product, right? We need to have more of the product design approach. So as an industry, we need that versatility. My experience having worked across different types of agency, extremely digital, set up even in the consulting space or in more traditional advertising side, I believe the best creative out there don't belong to specific agency. They just are these creative that wear multiple hats. You are as a creative what you have been learning through life, right? We tend to say, oh, you're a graphic designer or an art director or copywriter. Actually, you're more than that, right? You could be a dad, you could be doing things on the side, you could be into food, you could be coding for fun time to time. So all of that define you. So for example, this is me. So I'm an engineer. Probably half of what I am is being an engineer, but I'm also a new media artist. I try to experiment with technology. I do music. So I have synthesizer at home. I'm a dad. I like sci-fi. I'm in Singapore, so I have experience with Asia Pacific. So what you need to do is to really collaborate differently. I'm always surprised by how we still work in this art and copy mode, while 10 years ago, we were already trying to go into art, copy, and code, right? I think it's important to even go beyond art, copy, and code. We need to look at collaboration in our agency very differently, right? Everything or every output, every brief, every problem can have need to be solved differently, right? Collaboration is key. So you should not hesitate to bring different teams to the picture, not just the traditional art and copy team. This is extremely important. So this is our industry today. Now, if we look at the disruption that is coming to market, we are in this really special time in the humanity. We are going towards this exponential age. We keep talking about Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence being potentially taking over, but where are we? We are in between this industrial age that we all know very well and this exponential age. What it means is that things are moving extremely fast. We cannot predict what's next. It's extremely difficult to anticipate, to be a futurist today, to anticipate what will happen in 5 years. To be honest, I don't think anyone knows properly. If we look at the past, we thought that by now, at least I remember it during my childhood, we thought that by now cars would be flying, right? We will look outside, we will see cars flying. Sci-fi movie were representing a future in 2010, 2020, but would have this interesting new type of transportation. So, but this is not happening. If we look at today, it's a very different type of innovation. Obviously, crypto is huge. I mean, it may be crushing again. Metaverse is out there. Game engine are taking over many things, including video production workflow. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. So it's an era in which we are seeing an explosion of absolutely everything. People are experimenting, we are seeing new venture, and all of this have in common the fact that they are often combining technology and creativity, especially at the moment. There's no single day where we don't have someone posting on LinkedIn a new technology that can write story on its own, compose music, paints artwork. I'm sure you have seen Midjourney, potentially experiments out there on LinkedIn, which is the use of AI to create very much anything. We have technology designing buildings. I have been to university in Singapore, in Asia, where I see students using code to generate specific shape for building. So the education is also starting to adapt to this change. And every other day, we have new things coming to the metaverse, right? New technology, new blockchain, new metaverse platform, like recently the BAYC, the team that released the Ape NFT, releasing their new platform oversight. So every single day, there's something that drives people out there crazy. And what I notice in the industry is that everyone is talking about it. Everyone, every single day, any agency, people are talking about it. But barely anyone is a practitioner, which I think is a big issue, especially at the moment. I have been in countless meetings talking about metaverse, for example, or previously artificial intelligence. And what I notice is that there's a misunderstanding or there's an assumption that things work a certain way. We talk about games, for example. If we talk about bringing a brand to Fortnite, bringing a brand to Roblox, to Sandbox, using artificial intelligence to do deepfake, all of that needs an understanding to actually come up with solution and idea, in my opinion. I had I have to try every single thing to be able to advise. I think our creative in this industry need to be a bit more practical and use things out there. And if we look at it, it has been a constant, right? So the creative industry are always challenged, and that's when it's quite dangerous for us. We need to do something about it. And so that means to take new risk, to look into unknown areas, try new software, try new process, new methodology. And we have been there before. Before internet, we had Photoshop taking over the market. I remember trying it in the early 90s, and it was very new, but still there was resistance. And before that, we had resistance around the use of video editing software. So we have been there all the way. And it's about adapting or not, right? It's a choice that we have to make constantly. And right now it's just accelerate. And in my opinion, I'd find a quote, but I couldn't find one. So I just wrote something. I really think we are at a transition period where it will be extremely brutal if we don't do anything about it, right? If as a creative, in terms of how we produce craft, how we create, we don't produce things differently. So the question now is like, what does it take? I mean, how do you actually move forward? And we can talk about relevance. First, in my experience, it's impossible to know everything out there. There are too many things. I'm a creative technologist, but I don't know everything, right? So I need to work to build teams within Publicis Group, for example, of experts within specific field. So as much as possible, I try to remain a practitioner, but I have people who are better at blockchain than me, or better at artificial intelligence than me, or better at, I don't know, creating craft a certain way using 3D software. So I'm trying to like augment myself with people. So as a collective, we are able to cover as much as possible, right? When it comes to technology, and be able to advise our teams, our clients about it. So don't try to know everything. It's absolutely impossible. But one thing I've noticed as well, we have too many creative in our industry. We are just like talking to themselves, right? So recycling, the old creative network. So just hiring their friend and or reading the same press over and over. So there is a necessity, in my opinion, to look beyond the industry, right? Creativity is in many places these days. So we know we have influencers who are creative in their own way. We have artists who work on the side. We have a younger generation that has this ability to create many things in different ways. So we just need to be able to communicate with people, hire them if we can, but at the same time, we need to talk to them, right? We need to look at being friends with them. We need to follow them on social platforms. We need to be able to have a perspective that goes beyond our industry. Because if we stick within our industry, then we will not progress. And of course, you need to be super curious. I spend a lot of my days looking at things that don't specifically interest me, but I can sense that there is something happening in a specific space, right? So as an engineer, I will do that job for you, and that's why creative technologies are important. I would, for example, look at scientific paper around artificial intelligence to see what's coming, what's next. I will be looking at game publication. So you have to be looking around, right? Even as scientific publication, I'm trying to understand the world, right? It's very important. And similarly, we look at creative work that is new on Behance and ArtStation and all these platforms. So we need to have this perspective on what's happening. And you need to keep rising the bar in who you follow. So it's quite important. The more you put the bar higher in your craft or in what you aspire to be, the more you will feel like you're falling behind, which is a good thing because your inspiration has gone higher in terms of quality. So you will constantly change and get inspired by more and more or better and better people, which means you will constantly move ahead and you will not actually be behind. And yes, and just experiment. How do you experiment on real work is not easy, but don't experiment on the side, right? Experiment with clients. And the way you can do that, it's every project should be a new age in terms of your aspiration to do something different. It could be about many things, right? It could be about using a new software to design. It could be about having a new type of collaboration, collaborating with new type of skills and talents within your agency or outside your agency. It could be about using a new platform to do your decks. It's about anything, right? You need to constantly try and push the edge and work better, deliver better work. And you need to always do that, constantly push the edge of possibility, right? And look beyond. And one thing that will be quite normal when you experiment, when you try new things, is that you have no idea what you're doing. I often don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still doing it, right? And if I put out there the work that has been done that way, despite not being fully in control, people will be impressed because they have not seen it done that way before, right? So experimenting, anyway, it's play, right? It's like playing with Lego, right? We build things, we don't know exactly what we are doing, but we are doing something new. And if I look at design tools, it's just an example. There are more tools out there. They always lag behind the possibility offered by technology or code, for example. So I have been working enough with designers or creative that were using Photoshop and Illustrator and other solutions. And this is never the end product, right? You need to collaborate with technology to understand what it takes to build the end product. And we have a few examples of that. For example, people who can't do what they want to do, with software, but is off-the-shelf software, will end up doing it with code. If they need to create new type of design, or if it's dynamic, if it's based on data, or if it uses AI, they will be using code. So they are creating tools, and there's nothing wrong about that. It happens quite often in some of the teams out there, and to create tools for each project, right? Because we have new needs, different needs. And at the same time, we have a lot of data out there. I know there's a lot of conversation about how we should be using individual or personal data, but at the same time, there is a lot of data. If it's not personal, at least the collective data, the information of the world is available. And we have seen brands trying to get into this space. But to get into this space, if we take the example of that telco or in Brazil, their identity is based on data. Each individual will have a different identity on their bill, on their invoice, when they use the website. So it's always looking different. But how do you create such an identity? If you have millions of customers, you're not going to go into a software and design millions of logos for each individual. You need to be using code, right? So and in that case, it was using code. It was using this software called processing, which is a language for creative to be able to create dynamic identity, for example, or interactive work. And this is something we have done at Publicis Group as well in Hong Kong for HSBC. This is when you go to the wealth center of HSBC, you will be welcomed by this giant screen that display this mountain and this beautiful illustration that represents the style of the banknote in Hong Kong, but the design and what you see on this screen is actually influenced by the current stock exchange level, right? So it's dynamic. To create something like that, we had to use technology as a partner to our traditional art and copy team, right? So we had to make one bigger team to be able to prototype and iterate and come up with that product. And we have software, there is software out there that is actually accessible, I would say, for creative to use, people who don't specifically understand code. So we have processing, which I just talked about. We have cables.jl, which is the software on the top right. It's a web-based solution. And Touch Designer as well, which is a solution where you can plug components with one another. There's no code written unless you go really into complex system with them, but you don't specifically need to write code. And this software, as you can see on screen, for example, allow you to create a variety of things, right? In this case, this is me actually creating shapes, which are randomly defined and with light that goes onto them. I mean, it was just a test. But this is called creative coding, actually. This is a discipline. And you can start today as a creative. I have a video that I'm going to play now for about 2 minutes, but explain what is creative coding. Is processing, which is one amazing software which I would suggest to try. And then there is something else that is happening right now, which is artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence and code are two different things, two different disciplines. And it's clearly starting to disrupt many industries. If code is writing, artificial intelligence is printing. So it's a bit similar to Gutenberg, for example, inventing printing, right? So we are into this age where we can use artificial or start using artificial intelligence for our work process. And in the last few years, artists have been taking the lead. So I have a few examples here that you can look at. So Quasimodo is one of the first artists that got exhibited in Madrid, for example, for his artwork, and Refik Anadol, which is obviously from Turkey, amazing artist. I think the reference globally, creating this beautiful art using artificial intelligence. And we have other artists who are exploring the use of AI for videography. And this is some of my recent attempts on the right, where I generate sneakers or cars or buildings, for example, using artificial intelligence. So I have a quick video about Refik talking about his process, but I think we are running short. I think you know Refik very well. This is actually using Midjourney. Midjourney is the latest of the AI software that is available out there. And Midjourney is extremely powerful. You can create things just using a text prompt. It's one of these many software that you can use today. It's based on artificial intelligence and that you can create with. If you look at the top left, you have this platform called Hugging Face, which you can Google, and you will notice there are a few algorithms for you to play with. For example, you can stylize people in the style of Arcane, which is the Riot Netflix series. There's also Magenta Studio on the left in the center, which is a series of modules you can use in Ableton. If you're a musician, you can actually use that. It will generate patterns using artificial intelligence, drums and snares and bass, etc. You have AIVA on the bottom left, that is a software for you to, but will write music in different style. It doesn't mean that what it generates is the end product, right? It's something you can use, collaborate with, right? And put into your own digital audio workstation. We have Lyrics Studio that can write lyrics, right? Or inspire you with lyrics. We try to generate hip-hop lyrics with it. It was very funny. We have Runway ML, which is one of the leading products in the market, that helps you edit video using artificial intelligence. It does green screen for you, for example. It syncs to the beat of a song. So all of that is done with AI. And what we are seeing right now is this new software that impacts directly the creative process, our agency creative process, which is writing, not for you, but co-writing. So you write, inspire you. It's very similar to the Gmail auto-completion, for example. You start writing, it suggests the next paragraph if you have a writer blocks. So this is an amazing tool. And on the right, what you have is 3 products that are starting kind of a competition. DALL-E version 2, Imagen, which is a new product from Google, and Midjourney at the bottom right. These 3 are actually playing in this space of synthesizing images. And this is just amazing what you can do with them. Obviously, it's not immediate. When you start working with them, the result is not immediate. You need to work and try and refine, and then you will get to a place where you would have never been without using this software. And so I suggest that you read this article actually called Creative AI on the Democratization and Escalation of Creativity, which is on Medium. So you just Google Medium, Creative AI, and this title, and you will get the article that explains where we are going. It's fascinating. And we have to remember as an industry, this is not a threat, right? These are new tools that we can collaborate with. And sadly, our industry reacting the wrong way, in my opinion, by being sensitive, saying it will not replace creativity. I don't think as an engineer using this software, but artificial intelligence and the algorithm behind behind that are actually smart. I think they are quite dumb, to be honest. They are just creating something that is out of this world, but they are not able to do it without our intervention. So we are collaborating with them. So it's really not about us versus the machine. It's really about us plus the machine, right? It's about us doing work in a better way, right? More efficient way, and just collaborating with software out there to get inspired, right? It's a new partner in your creative team, definitely. And this is the end. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Laurent. This has been really a very insightful presentation. We shouldn't be afraid of technology, of any developments in AI, because it needs humans to program it. Although they will program themselves in the future, they need creativity. I love the ending of your presentation. It's not human versus the machine, but human plus the machine. And being an engineer, you put it very clearly that we need human intelligence and human creativity, human emotions, cooperation. This is wonderful. Thank you very much. It's been very, very inspirational.
Thank you.